Hello guys, welcome back, or welcome for the new ones. It's Christian from Emotions in Wine. This time really welcome back because we are back to one of the hottest regions, as I stated in the thumbnail in those days, but also because of the results of my videos about Etna Bianco and Etna Rosso. Was planned already in those days, 6 months ago roughly, to do something about the Crus. But then after the results, I even more got excited. As you know, if you followed, I'm very big fan of Etna since a long time. The Renaissance, the history is very long. The Renaissance is recent, let's say since the 90s. By the way, Etna Bianco and Etna Rosso, the link is below for both. So in Etna Bianco you have the introduction. Here I will focus specifically on the topics of today. So Rosso, Crus, so about the Crus, the Contrade, and the wineries that we are talking about. This time I picked 2 of the 5 top names, so really to give a boom. I hope you will enjoy. So we start with Graci, Etna Rosso, Arcurìa 2018, 14 alcohol. Is one of the historical, about 20 years there. History there is quite recent, except the small farmers or Benanti, that was the medium, large sized historical winery there. Most of the others are in the last 20-30 years. And Tenuta delle Terre Nere, Etna Rosso, Guardiola 2020, 14.5 alcohol. So Terre Nere was the first of the newcomers investors. First vintage was 2002, so Graci is slightly after. And he was in the wine business. He's Italian American. He made a lot of difference in the marketing, especially. So you can disagree with his vision. He's more on the Burgundian philosophy, even in the winemaking, but he had anyway to become more famous worldwide, the region. So very important, both wineries. So we will see afterwards. First we talk about the Contrade, so the Crus concepts. Nowadays there are about 140. The long history of winemaking, then the almost disappearance. In fact, the surface of hectares now is very small compared to time back. The Renaissance started, I said, in the 90s. Benanti was historically there, and then these new, some foreigners, or at least out of Sicily, some local like Graci, started to reinvest there and promote this area, which is really an island into the island, as I said already in that video, because Sicily is already a huge island with a lot of diversities. But Etna is really something different from everything else inside Sicily too, because it's almost Africa, but the mountain is the highest out of the Alps in the whole of Italy. So there is more cooler climate, and the snow excursion is huge. Vineyards go up to 1,000 meters, which is not little. But all these aspects were very well explained in the Etna Bianco video. So majority of the famous wineries and vineyards are on the northern slopes, as I said at the time, and concentrated in a small area between Randazzo and Castiglione di Sicilia villages. Passo Pisciaro is almost in between and is the most relevant village, but this is no commune, so Passo Pisciaro is part of Castiglione, and most of the Crus are there. So the Contrada is something historical. You cannot really compare to Piedmont or Burgundy because it's quite a wide area that can be even diverse, because that was not done for the wine, it was about the geographical space. So Marco de Grazia from Terre Nere now is trying to push to have more micro zoning. So real cru concept, he is putting in his labels. He's doing a selection based on the soils, so the age of the soils, Premier Cru, Grand Cru, but this is all talk at the moment, nothing official. That is a long process, we have to give them time. Anyway, it's big development. Most of the Contrade are about 600-700 meters there on the northern slopes, and in other sides of the Volcano, still majority are about 500-700 meters, and there are the highest vineyards arriving to about 1,000, and Guardiola is one of those, is up to 1,000 meters. So north also is less exposed to the sun, and there are more cool winds from the north. But being in the south, that helps to keep acidity and vibrancy in the wines, so all helps. Of course, 900-1,000 meters is another story because that is much cooler. Guardiola in general has much higher acidity, is more austere, so it needs several years to express, but then I love it in general. Even for this contrast probably of austerity at the beginning and then the complexity that it can give, and then in more extreme conditions of farming. Calderara probably is the most famous, is also nearby, so majority are around Passo Pisciaro. As I said, you have Arcurìa, Feudo di Mezzo where is based Graci, Calderara a bit more on the west where is based Terre Nere, and then the other Guardiola is basically south of Passo Pisciaro, going up the mountain. So I start to pour to let them breathe. They are open already a while. So I picked wineries representative that I know a lot at Terre Nere, a bit less Graci. I was quite lucky to find recently 2018 and 2020, not best vintages, but not bad. They were more rainy and less warm both, in particular 2018, so Graci, because even October, time of harvest of Nerello Mascalese is the grape. Both are only Nerello Mascalese, there is no Nerello Cappuccio, which is the second main, so these are 100%. So during harvest time was tougher, so the acidity of Graci is higher, so more comparable to Guardiola, which is higher altitude. Color already can see quite different, even if it's only 2 years of difference. It's much lighter in intensity, Graci, and more orange rim, while Guardiola is still ruby light, but a bit more intense than the other, and just a touch on the rim turning Garnet, while this one is even more than Garnet on the edge. It can be already almost orange. It's a bit quite characteristic, and this is a bit similar to Nebbiolo. So let's start with the Graci. I picked first the older because it's a bit rounder than the other. I will do next day tasting tomorrow, so in the end of the video. So Graci, as said, family Sicilian with history in the winemaking, but in another area. Alberto Graci quit his job in finance and moved back and started the business on Etna. So he started step by step. They did well immediately, but of course it was an under construction project because they added up vineyards step by step. There are many differences between the two. We will see, besides the Crus different, but even the styles and the history. Graci has many young vines also, which are planted in modern training, no Albarello, the classic, while the old ones, of course, are in Albarello. While Terre Nere is all Albarello, and almost the huge majority are very old. Of course, he also planted for the basics, Etna Bianco, Etna Rosso, but he has a big heritage. So for Graci, a bit less old vines. In fact, in Arcurìa, they have young up to 70, so it's a mix. Average age maybe is about 30-40. While Guardiola is one of the oldest of all, no pre-phylloxera, but the age of the vines goes from 80 to 120 years, which is a lot. We will talk about that also. When make it completely different, Graci is traditionalist. So he comes from there, his vision was, let's do things traditional, let's show the differences what nature is giving us every vintage, every location, and so on. So long macerations, aging 2 years for this one, the Crus, in big tini, so the big bottles, big casks, very big. So the influence of the oak is very minimal in this case, so there is not that spiciness. You go from the fruit, most red fruit, to some typical would be also Mediterranean herbs, like many reds in the Mediterranean. It's a bit ethereal, plants more than herbs at the moment. So about the complexity cannot express at the moment, still shy, quite elegant. On the palate is more interesting at the moment, much more. First, great balance, but still very fresh. The tannin is gentle, so it's in a way you can say silky, but still good freshness given also by the vintage, the tall stuff, indeed, and good vibrancy given by that, with the minerality on the backbone, of course. All these wines show a lot of minerality, in some cases even smokiness, especially where it's more basal. So beside the winemaking, here is 600-700 meters around the cellar, Arcurìa, and is mixed volcanic rocks. On top is mostly sandy with some ashes, so it's a bit more various, the soil. First round on the Guardiola, Terre Nere, completely different, so more Burgundian, as I said. He focused on that idea, so Tonneau and Barrique, French, for the aging. He's also doing quite organic, both of them, but then depends on the vineyards. In some cases it's a bit complicated, but they are both environmental friendly, at least. French style, shorter macerations and shorter aging. This one is 14 months in the casks. Here is more impactful. Strawberry, first of all. The mineral is impactful even on the nose a lot, this is something more specific. Basalt with little sand and pumice on top is very dark, very poor soil at that altitude, and the terraces are built because otherwise it would have been too steep, so it's very complicated. As I said before, very austere in a way, but giving a lot, especially in the time. That's one of the reasons I love this vineyard. You have a bit of spices here, inevitable, being that he uses the small French casks, but well integrated already, even being less than 5 years. Quite complex, so elegance at the moment more than the Arcurìa, and more complexity already showing. Even if this usually need time, seems this window is good compared to Arcurìa, which is 2 years older. More to show besides the fruit, the spicy, the mineral, not smoky. That I can know, but sort of flinty maybe. More austere on the palate still. Here there is not good balance yet. This needs food. The other you can sip it. This still needs food. It's younger, and it's also because of the vineyard. It's more pronounced. The acidity, even if maybe similar, but because the tannin here is even more evident. Even the tannin needs more time to get never silky, honestly, maybe very old, but at least more gentle. But length is huge, so it's maybe longer than Arcurìa. Both are very long, fill in the mouth and staying there. This is a touch more, a touch longer, a touch more intense, but also a bit behind, so more in need of food. So we go back to Arcurìa, start to show more. interesting notes particular. Some herbs, plants more than before. Some balsamic also, like medicinal herbs. Yeah, it reminds a bit those teas with some infusion of different herbs, something like that. Quite particular in the end. Yeah, the structure is very good. Actually, being 2 years older, is holding very well with Guardiola. Now, after passing from one to the other, I see the length, the minerality staying in the palate. So it's competing very well, even if it's clearly riper. I'm very happy of the two picks, besides the names. So these are medium-sized wineries. That is already considered big because of the place of the specialty of everything, and everything complicated and small scale. It's changing. So the complexity is coming out. In the next phase, we will see much more for sure. So far, getting interesting. Here, in a way, is changing less. It's more impactful since beginning, but turning less. So in the longer, I think the complexity may be more in the Graci one, even if at the beginning was seeming the opposite. Here coming now more notes of spices and some Mediterranean herbs, but still the strawberry is the first and the minerality very pronounced. Also remember the importance of the old vines. That makes a huge, I keep repeating, but here is really the heritage of old vines is something special for Etna. It's one of the points making it really an amazing place that everyone should at least try. I keep repeating, it's my best place. I'm a volcanic guy, but Etna is the most special of all, indeed. Yes, so far it's showing a bit less complexity than the other. Here we are, 24 hours after, I'm pouring again. So, of course, in the evening already I saw the change. Let's see how it's now today. There is still almost half bottle left. Graci, as I hinted already in the end yesterday, changed more. Came also too earthy and more herbal notes, so moved a lot in the direction, which is tertiary typical of aging of this kind of wines, but showing more complexity. While Terre Nere, more Mediterranean herbs and something else, but not a big step. So let's see how it's now. Yeah, Graci is reconfirming this evolution. Still fruit, but mostly now all these kind of different herbs. Yesterday I mentioned those tea, also Mediterranean herbs and earthy. So very elegant now. In the evolution, show great elegance, very good complexity, and very pleasant overall experience. And the color showing already age may have given the idea that it was more evolved, but in reality it has still a good aging potential. It's not, of course, not huge, but I think for several years still will improve. Then of course we reach the peak, but it's a very nice experience, actually great wine. There is still the fruit at the beginning, the minerality is more pronounced, filling the mouth, staying there long, very pleasant notes also on the palate. Here, still shy, so it was more impactful since beginning, but didn't change much. It's still the strawberry, the intense minerality, this flinty with spices, but not that much, as I said already yesterday, so not overwhelming, and more Mediterranean herbs. That increased yesterday evening and today either. But still not huge change. Of course, I don't expect earthiness in 4.5 years old, but a bit more complexity I would have expected. This has much longer aging potential, is still young. I told is typically taking long time, and this is good to drink about 10 years old. 5, 6 is not enough. But on the palate, fantastic. Keeping you salivating with this fresh minerality, never ending, really, never ending. So here there is more potential. While Graci is expressing already a lot, was slow in the development, but as we saw even with the Barolo or the Brunello also, it's quite normal. It's comparable to the Nebbiolo in particular and Pinot Noir, as I hinted. Of course, they still need time, as I said, is a younger resurrection, let's say, will take time to reach those levels. The prices, unfortunately, are already high. Here we are talking about 50 euros in Italy retail, more or less. This is more 50 than 50 something. So they are quite expensive already. This is a bit the situation, but it's an amazing experience. I'm enjoying it a lot. Maybe I expected a bit more complexity from Guardiola, but I knew it was still young. So overall, I'm very happy. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, please, and salute.